Mukei. These are just 10 names of the people that lost their lives. Lest we forget that the reason that we are talking about this today is because the country reached a point where our children rose up and said, enough is enough. And why did they say enough is enough? It's because they can see that the country was not going in the right direction. We, as representatives of the people, failed to actually do the job that we were elected to do. All three arms of government failed the people of Kenya. And because we failed the people of Kenya, we're here discussing the budget. Now, the budget that we have to ask ourselves some really hard questions. Questions because I can see, I recently saw the strike notices coming out left, right, and center. Everybody wants collective bargaining agreements that were agreed, honored. People want jobs that were promised, people hired. We have shortages of teachers, we have shortages of medics, we have people who are past retirement age still in government. We have to really start cleaning up. And cleaning up, if we can't do it ourselves, what we had with the Gen Z revolution or protest recently was like a tremor. The earthquake is what we should avoid. And we can avoid it if we actually listen and act on everything that they're saying. Because you know what? These are not strangers coming to tell us how to run our country. These are not strangers telling us that there's a lot of waste. These are not strangers telling us there's a lot of theft and a lot of corruption. These are our children. These are Kenyans. These are people that the Constitution swore to protect. But then when I come to think about it, I also feel sometimes that maybe we need to really sit down and revisit this Constitution. You know, do we really need 47 counties? Did we actually start this, this exorbitant expenditure when we passed our Constitution, where we decided to have so many counties? I mean, I was trying to draw a parallel with California. California is got the population of Kenya and has 150 elected representatives versus our 2,000. California has a GDP of probably the entire continent of Africa. And here in Kenya, we, right now, when we think about it, we are, I think, overrepresented. California has CEOs running the various state boroughs that they have within their state. So I think we really need to look at, and we need to do it quickly. We need to look at, one, are our laws adequate when it comes to fighting corruption? Because the former president said we're losing 2 billion a day, which comes to about 700 billion. We definitely need money to be able to get this country right. And if we actually deal with corruption, we should be able to do this. But are we putting money into dealing with corruption? Are we putting the legislation and the structures in place to deal with corruption? Because if we are not, then we're going to have a problem. I saw some videos running around on social media after we did the vetting, and so many people questioning the wealth of many of the people that we're vetting. I too wonder, how do people make that kind of money? Because I've had businesses that have collapsed, businesses that have done well, and I don't have that kind of wealth, and I don't want that kind of wealth. Because at the end of the day, it's ridiculous for one person to be worth so much, and the only job that they've ever had is a public servant. You know, I think it's like egg on the face of the people that have elected us to do the work. When we look at the basic, the sharing of the monies that we give to the counties, we have the basic share of 20%, population 18%, health at 17%, poverty levels at 14%, agriculture at 10%, roads at 8%, lands at 8%, and urban at 5%. I have a feeling that when we come up with 7.8 in equalization, are we asking ourselves whether the money we've already given them is actually had an impact on poverty alleviation? Devolution was supposed to sort that. Some of the counties that are so poor that children are still studying under the trees have been given billions of shillings since we started with devolution. So we obviously have a problem, and yet the governors that have left those counties are billionaires today, shamefully. So I feel that while we're looking at the revenue sharing, while we're looking at the monies at the various, to all the government and the three arms of government, I think the most important thing that we have to look at is pending bills. I mean, we should have, as a government and counties, you know, we've actually impoverished a lot of Kenyans. We've taken services from Kenyans and we've not paid them. And we're not even providing. We keep having committee after committee. And these are Kenyans who've actually employed people, borrowed money from banks that have actually now, some of them are committing suicide, some of them are actually having serious mental health issues. We have to be a country that cares. And for us to be a country that cares, we actually have to have a holistic approach. So I really pray and hope that somehow the three arms of government will sit down together and actually have a conversation about where we went wrong, what are we doing right, and then directing us to ensure that we do right. I know we want to say that we're independent, right? But we're all dependent on each other. And that interdependence means we have to have a conversation. And that conversation is, are we going to allow the tremors that we felt with the Gen Z protest become an earthquake that engulfs all of us? Or are we going to deal with it, that we never have a tremor again because we did the right thing? History will judge us. The 2024 finance bill is a gap and a void in our history. But there are deaths. There are people that died. There are businesses that were looted. There are people that have suffered irreparable damage. Loss of life can never be replaced. If this country doesn't change, then it was in vain. So we have to make sure that history does not judge us harshly. The 13th Parliament has got a big job to do, and it's not just about bringing budgets and bringing appropriation bills and division of revenue bills. It's about getting it right. It's about listening and acting on everything that the Gen Zs have put on the table. Every single day, I see them doing a better job than EACC in telling us how the counties are actually stealing money. They're going to continue doing that on a daily basis. They're going to expose everything. No one is actually going to do anything anymore in this country that will not be exposed. So let's change our direction. Let's change the direction to the dreams of our forefathers when they coined the national anthem, when they actually fought for our independence.